Personally, without an editor, I have been able to put up 8 different videos all within, I think I've only had this stuff for like 2 or 3 days.
I do this online training and I have a big client. It's an international consulting firm. I use GoToMeeting, but then I take it and download it, jam it through TimeBolt, give it a little bit of turbo love, and that 3-hour training session crushes it, brings it down to a reasonable time so they can watch the replay. It's crushing it.
As I go through, I figure out what I want to cut, keep. Go to Stitch, hit join multiple files. I have my highlights that I wanted. I have a teaser video that is like, it comes in, he's like, it shows what shadow is, right? Like, I put in my raw GoPro footage, okay? That's the raw footage. I still haven't had to render anything but the highlight. We're gonna hit apply JSON file. These are all the cuts that were made. Export video. This chaptered text file right here actually accounts for the additional time stuck to the front of the video. You can add your speed multipliers. You can add images as well. That is Stitch.
Because then that saves me hours. Now this is gonna save me a boatload of time.
Welcome to TimeBolt Office Hours on Thursday, April 25th, 2024. You are live with Doug and Quinn. We are here to answer your questions, check your workflows, and generally just make sure that you get the best out of TimeBolt. Today, we have a very exciting topic to talk about. I didn't know we are going to be able to talk about this so early. It's Stitch, okay? We have the ability now inside TimeBolt to assemble multiple clips, multiple video, audio, even image files, attach music backgrounds to them, render them out in TimeBolt, and now you're basically able to go through and pull out and highlight the best scenes in the long format video, pull those to the front, add a promo video in if you want, then run the video that you had time bolted along with chapter markers that all are accounted for, the timing's accounted for. Is an example of how to do this. We started a new YouTube channel with some good dog GoPro action footage to begin testing how to make this work. And personally, without an editor, I have been able to put up 8 different videos all within, I think I've only had this stuff for like 2 or 3 days. These are high quality 4K videos with teasers, with promos, optimized for YouTube, chapter markers. And I'm just older. I may look tired, but I'm actually not super tired. Quinston's the one that's probably freaking pretty wiped out by now. Dan, how you doing? Welcome to Office Hours.
Doing great, thanks.
I thought I'd just go ahead and start with how I'm using Stitch.
Hey, while you're bringing that up, I just thought I'd mention how I do this online training and I have a big client. It's an international consulting firm and I record all my sessions. I use GoToMeeting, but then I take it and download it, jam it through TimeBolt, give it a little bit of turbo love, and that 3-hour training session crushes it, brings it down to a reasonable time so they can watch the replay and follow right along. It's crushing it.
This is this is why today is just so exciting, because you're still talking about a 3 hours worth of footage, right? That you're throwing in a TimeBolt. Maybe that cuts it down into what, maybe 2 hours of usable, fast-paced information. One of the big styles that you're seeing on YouTube today is you've got when you first open up a video, it shows you like, what's that 30, 40, 50-second teaser? Like you just said is going to the front of our teaser when we do office hours, okay? You're able to go in as you're going through and pull out those teasers and stitch them to the front of your video in a very cool way. It works very well. That way you've got like a preview of what's coming up to why you would want to watch for 2 hours. So what I'm going to do here.
Hey, Doug, have you also been promoting how going live impacts your communications and stuff like that? I just started recently going live like every day, talking about how in my industry, AI and automation is just turning the world upside down. And my LinkedIn requests have skyrocketed. My impressions have skyrocketed. I can't keep up with the messages. And the only thing I did was start chit-chatting about AI and automation. And it's really going live. And I didn't think anybody would respond, but it freaking works.
Office hours, that probably eliminates a lot of like one-on-one calls and support tickets, and being able to, it's not just the live, it's what do you do with the content afterwards? How do you categorize it? How do you make it searchable? Like that's all what TimeBolt does. And what's funny is the biggest names in AI that talk about AI, like Matt Wolf, yourself, you guys use TimeBolt and it's actually not AI. Like our base cut is a simple sound detection algorithm. It's the opposite of the complex needing natural language processing models. If I'm bastardizing that, I apologize, but that's what's very unique about TimeBolt. And that's why it's happening locally on your computer. This could be a Zoom call. Right now, we're just going to focus on GoPro footage. Okay. You want to get outside, you want to do something fun. But GoPro's market cap is now like 4 billion. It's come down quite a bit with the sale of cameras, but people are wanting to know when they get these cameras, how do you take 2 hours worth of footage and cut it down into something useful, especially when you're doing this stuff like every other day? This is what we'd recommend. Okay. With GoPro footage, it has nothing to do with when somebody talks or when there's sound or when there's not sound, okay? What I do with the GoPro footage, I put this at 10 seconds, okay? Hit update silence detection settings. This way it turns the timeline entirely green, okay? I'm cutting based on action. And what's nice about this is that while all the jump cuts aren't automatically made, TimeBolt's timeline is meant to scrub fast, okay? You are going to be able to scrub through your videos super fast. All I do is I basically put this at like 1.5x speed that I want to keep. Is if I hit S and it creates a split, right? And like, I don't know what type of action this is, but I create S and I can back cut, right? So now you can scrub through and figure out what you want to keep, what you want to cut. And just as important as I'm going through, my guarantee is this. If you are willing to watch your footage once, you can do everything that you need to have an uploadable video to YouTube. Once. That's the deal that we make with TimeBolt. An AI is not going to do it for you all. If you think about it, if AI is going to be able to do everything for you, it's inherently going to be generic and not attention grabbing. And there involves a level of human ingenuity and timing. Well, I picked the worst dog park day ever. I usually have 10,000 dogs, whatever. What happens here is I go through, I cut out my footage, I figure out what I want to keep, okay, and what I want to remove. And then once my dog gets into some action, wow, this is the worst day ever. Here, we're not doing this day. Here,
I'll make one confession here for you. I struggle to understand the shortcuts and remember the shortcuts, right? I'm working with so many apps and it's not obvious to me. So subsequently, I haven't been using a lot of these fantastic shortcut keys and things you have available because I can't for some reason, I just can't remember them and I can't do what they do. I can't remember what they do and what those keys are. I got to figure out some sort of system.
What you got to do, USOB. Okay. You're like, what did you just call me? USOB. You just got to press them. And that's all you got. USOB, right? And they're keys. You just press them. And when you put this thing at 1.5x speed, just press the keys and then you'll see what they do. And then you won't ever have to do, it'll just be second nature to you. But right here, when we get to the dog park again, I'm cutting out different scenes. I'm figuring out what I want to cut and keep. I'm just going to go ahead and apply my timeline cuts because I've already done all this. Okay. Now I've got my JSON. I apply my JSON. What you'll see in this is that I've been able to go through, figure out the parts that I want to keep. Look, there's some dog here. I go ahead and say I want anything where he's catching a Frisbee or there's some type of dog action where they're getting ready. I want not just to speed that up. I want to slow it down, which I can actually do within fast forward. Okay. I hit fast forward all silences. I put it at 0.5x. It's basically going to slow it down by half the time. As I go through, I figure out what I want to cut, keep, or categorize for YouTube. Okay. This is where chapter markers are. And I go through and I'm able to cut, keep, let's say I was like, this is a cool part. These are the cool parts. Where dogs are coming up, you want to see if they're going to come up and fight your dog or whatever the hell, or he's flying through the air and catching Frisbee. I want all that shit in slow-mo. No one has this type of footage. I'm shooting in 4K, 60 frames per second, okay, with a super badass GoPro harness on a super badass dog. Okay. Once I've gone through the footage and categorized, I know what I want to cut, keep. When I'm going through here, I take a screenshot for a thumbnail. As I'm going through, okay, like I said, you just watching once, you're like, oh, what's the coolest thumbnail that you want to get, right? For me, it was like a dog getting ready to go in on him. What I do now, okay, is I do keep only mark cuts.
Those are the cuts which you want to keep start the video with, right?
Yes, I've figured out how long this thing is and what's important, what's a cool highlight reels and what's it called, right? I don't have to go back and remember anything. And I've scrubbed through this thing once. So now what I want to do is I want to create my teaser. I do keep only mark cuts, and this can work for with Zoom. I don't have a Zoom call this Zoom call. I will go through and do the exact same thing, so we can use an example. But with Zoom, like what Dan was saying, and when Mark drops a great thing about TimeBolt, I'll probably pull all that to the front. And then I do keep only mark cuts. I'm using dog footage. I'm not doing turbo mode or anything like that. You wouldn't want to do that anyway, okay, at this stage. All I'm doing right now, at this point, you're selecting the audio file from here, okay? I select an audio file. I have a main MP3. Okay. I put it at 30% of the volume. And now what I do is I hit export video. Okay. That video is going to export and it comes out after it's exported, I rename it to highlights and it looks like this. right? Okay, now you're like, oh shit, okay, I got something cool going on in there, right? So then now I've got my highlight reel done. Now what I do, I don't have to go in and freaking, like, this is 44K, 60 frames per second, right? You're probably thinking, oh, now you're going to say, okay, well, now you go back, you hit Command Z, right, to get back to the original cuts. But now I'm back to what we're originally going to keep. And you're probably going to think, oh, well, export video now, and then you're going to, no, we don't have to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to hit save. We're going to save our timeline cuts, which I already have saved as a JSON file. Hit save timeline cuts. Now what you're going to do is go to this beautiful thing called Stitch, join multiple files. You go to Stitch, hit join multiple files. I have my highlights that I wanted. I have a teaser video that is like, it comes in and he's like, it shows what shadow is, right? Like if you see some of these GoPro footage, they'll show you the highlights up front and then they're like, hey, this is me, this is my company. I put in my raw GoPro footage, okay? That's the raw footage. I still haven't had to render anything but the highlights, which I don't even think I'll have to do it in the first place. And I'll show you how I just realized all that, dude. It's insane. And then what happens here is like, this is still the raw video, right? You can watch it just to make sure you got the right one.
You can even hold over it and it will show you the location of that. It will give you a tooltip.
Oh, yeah.
It gives you a tooltip of which file it is.
What happens is that we've got all of our edits made. We're going to hit apply JSON file. These are all the cuts that were made. I haven't had to render anything yet. Okay. And like these are serious renders. All I'm going to do is go to export video. I can then go, like, I have the options to do horizontal or vertical in the exact way that I recorded in 4K at 60 frames per second. And look at the options here you got for rendering, which is absolutely phenomenal. I can add a logo to the corners if I wanted to. I don't know. I don't have a logo. I'm not going to actually render this because this will take about 3 hours because of the size of the video itself, right? But I hit basically export video and I'm able to export. This is what's interesting, okay? I do download chapters text file, okay, here. And what happens, and what's cool is, check this out, is that this chapter text file right here actually accounts for the additional time stuck to the front of the video. When the border collie may be trouble, that's 27 seconds into the entire video, including whatever you put in front of it. So you don't have to add time or like how much time. It adds in the time. You basically hit export video. It'll put in a logo on the top right hand, like you can go top left, bottom right. It depends on what you want to do. You've got your fast forward speed and you hit export video and out comes. When I upload this to YouTube, I'm no audiophiliac or whatnot, but this is a good render. It comes out 4K. Okay, this is it. You can see. I got badass dog. Where are we going, Shadow? To the dog park? Are you going to walk me there? Hey, Shadow. See how it's slowed down like that? Now this is the real video. Like I just walked into this, but we just made a production quality YouTube video by splicing together assets. You had to only render it once. It's we're very excited about this feature. The second piece of this that we'll be coming out with that Quincy has already got done, you can now export and activate turbo mode. This is the only type of footage that I personally wouldn't use turbo mode because it's dog footage, right? But speaking, all of it would get turbo mode. At this point, you can add your speed multipliers. And basically, now you're going to be able to download chapters text file, which also is going to account for the turbo mode and export your video, and your whole video gets turbo mode applied. Is there somebody with a live mic on? This right here, you can also, in here is, let's see, which one of these? We're going to have eventually make it to where you can add audio to the files at this stage, and you can add images as well. Whatever you want to throw in there, images, video, it all works. And that is Stitch.
I think you went a little fast from where they can open it up. It's built inside TimeBolt. You should probably.
Oh, yes. Where you find Stitch is right here. Stitch, join multiple files.
And it's also in the tools section, multi-file utilities. Multi-file utilities. It's a...
Okay, I see what you're saying. So Stitch, where you can join multiple files as well. Are there any questions about this? Gabriel, I didn't mean to like throw you on mute, man, but you like to unmute yourself. You had some background audio when we were talking.
I have one question. Quincy, is there any way where we can merge multiple videos and after that TimeBolt ask these videos in our timeline in TimeBolt? Maybe something like a merge options where we can add multiple videos, multiple footage in our timeline.
That's what Stitch is, right? But the whole point of Stitch is that if you have 5 files, do the JSON, save the JSON file individually in TimeBolt and then add them one by one and then render out a full big video.
Okay.
Let me show you what. Let's say I have these files, right? So let's say I have like these 3 files. Okay, there's an image, there's a video. And what I want to do is I want to these are all separate files. I want to edit them with TimeBolt and then merge them all together into one big file. Now, usually without this new Stitch component, what you usually have to do is render them out separately and then put them into a program like DaVinci Resolve or CapCut and then join them all together, right? But the problem with that is that and this is only if you are not like an advanced user. If you are an advanced user, you'll probably export via XML or use an extension, right? But a person who doesn't want to do all that can now use Stitch because if it's a simple enough project and you don't want to go into DaVinci Resolve Premiere Pro, then you can now do all of this in TimeBolt. The way you would do this is, and this is how I do it, you can actually make Stitch a part of the window itself. So your Stitch can be here, and the file that you want to work with individually could be on this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially take one by one and drop those files into Stitch. For example, this is my bumper image. I'm going to use an image as my starting point for the video. So I'm going to take this image, drop it into TimeBolt. I'm going to change the duration of this image to maybe 2 seconds, and maybe add like some background music to it, something like I'm going to add some music to it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to also add the file that I wanted. So this is my first file that I'm going to add. Now, I don't have the cuts for this because I want to actually create the cuts for this file. To create the cuts for this file, I'm just going to drop it into TimeBolt and get my cuts. So my JSON file is going to contain all the cuts that I have. Now I'm going to go back into Stitch and apply that to the Stitch. And then I'm going to add my next file. So this is my next file. I'm going to drop it into Stitch. Then I'm going to drop that same file. I got my cuts. I'm going to apply those cuts. And I'm going to download the JSON. And I'm going to apply those cuts to this. So now I have the image, the 2 video files. They're completely cut up with TimeBolt. I didn't have to render them twice because normally what you'll have to do is you have to render them once, take them to DaVinci Resolve, render them again. And now I can just come over here in the export option, I can select add a logo. I can select what resolution I want, how many frames per second, click on export and just export them out. So the whole point of this is how can you avoid going into complex NLEs if you want to do a simple project where all you're doing is making jump cuts and just combining those files together. As Doug said in the teaser, all he had to do was essentially have the main GoPro footage, pull out the teaser at the front because that's all he wanted, add some background music to it so it becomes interesting, grabs attention at the start, and then he can actually take the whole video at the end, apply the JSON cuts, and it will render with the JSON cuts, and it didn't have to render twice.
There's no gotchas, right? There's like, Quincy, let me ask you, I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
When it comes to, let's say, because now it makes sense, like to do, if you put your whole video to categorize it as well, right? Watching through the first time, would I want to cut, keep, enhance, categorize, and highlight? If you use the back 2 videos and they had specific chapter markers for each one of them, when this is combined, the one thing I haven't been able to, this is brand new, right? This is brand new. One thing I haven't been able to test is, will the outputted chapter markers include chapters for both videos?
They definitely would. If each of your files are chaptered separately, they would basically be concatenated and appended at the end. The duration will be adjusted based on where your file is in this timeline. So for example, let's say I have this file, right? So this is my first file. I'm just going to select it again. I'm just going to number them. It's going to be easier if I like not numbered. My bumper is going to be there. It's going to be the first thing. This could be an image or whatever. But now I have my video, the first video that I want to play. And what I'm going to do is I want to chapter this, right? When it goes through, I want to cut this part and I want to chapter it saying first chapter. And then at the end, I'm going to say something like maybe here, I'm going to say second chapter, right? And now I'm going to save the JSON for this. I'm going to add that file to TimeBolt and apply the JSON. The same thing. You basically get the JSON from the TimeBolt main window and apply it at Stitch. Then I'm going to select the second file, take that same file in TimeBolt, and then I'm going to chapter this, maybe chapter 3, chapter 4, and I'm going to save that JSON, and then I'm going to apply that same JSON in Stitch. Now, when I go to get my chapters text file, if I save it and see the chapters, they already have different chapters. The point is they will basically have all of them laid out one after the other. They will be concatenated from the start. This is the wrong file, by the way. I don't know which file I opened. This is the file that you'll have like the file will be stored with your name and timestamp, but it'll be intro, first chapter, second chapter, 3, chapter 4. The whole timeline will be individually chaptered. You can do that. They'll be concatenated, and then if you put them into YouTube, they should just work.
Is there any way where we can avoid this part where we can edit every video separately? Because at the moment we have to our video in Stitch. After that, we have to open this video in TimeBolt. We have to edit, export this JSON and apply in the Stitch.
So what other options do you have? What kind of options do you have? I don't know how it'd be possible to do it any differently or any faster.
Because let's say if you have multiple footage, you have 10, 15, or even 20 videos, you have to open every video, apply these cuts, export JSON, and apply in Stitch. Is there any way where we can open all these videos in?
That is not possible. I'll tell you why that's not a good idea either. The problem with that approach is, imagine having to jump cut 20 videos at the same time. It's not possible. And it's going to get very confusing very fast. I don't know if you have ever seen like a really complex timeline of a YouTube video. It's very like, there are so many clips there that it's very difficult to know which clip is what until you play it and see what's happening. It's a very complex timeline. The reason Stitch exists is that we don't think people are going to put 20 videos in there in the first place. It's going to be literally, as Doug's demonstration was, it's going to be one clip at the start, then like maybe like a 5-second teaser, and then it's going to be the whole video with the cuts applied to it. And that is the scope of what Stitch is designed to be. Okay, it's not designed to replace Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve. Because if you're going to deal with 20 videos at once, I don't think you should use Stitch at all. Like, don't even touch it.
Is there any way to create a feature like this? Can I show you something? This is application where you can merge multiple files in one. Is there any way where you can add this feature in TimeBolt where you can choose multiple files? They will be combined in one file, and after they combine in one file, TimeBolt to ask you if you want to enter this file in TimeBolt.
When it concatenates, is it re-rendering them into one big file? Stitch does that already. You can do that with Stitch. You can just drop in and it will. In fact, with Stitch, you can rearrange them. That's the whole point of Stitch.
We're trying to avoid you having to render multiple
Re-render it
times,
over and over again. Yeah.
right? Because that takes real time, like 4 hours, but just depend on the type of video footage. That
Yeah.
you're
Also,
using.
when you re-render a file, it re-encodes it and it makes the quality less. Every time you re-encode a file, the quality of the file progressively reduces. The more you can avoid re-rendering a file, the better. And that's the whole point of Stitch using JSON cuts. The reason why this is there, this exists as in, the reason why this feature exists, the apply JSON file exists, is because we want to avoid rendering files over and over again, because your output file should only be a re-rendering of one time. Am I trying, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if we have silence, we have to remove it on every video separately.
That's the thing, right? To make, this is our belief at TimeBolt, because we have observed this over and over again. If you want to reliably remove silences in a reliable manner where people are okay with, because this process gets very complex very fast.
Even if you stopped and started recording 5 different times, like the big brand videos that I do, like I might have 6 videos that are 8 to 10 minutes long each, right? But each one of them has 2.5 to 3 minutes worth of content. You're still going to have to go through and cut that stuff up. Even with like 5 videos, the amount of work required is just inconsequential compared to doing this, making this, rendering this out, or doing XML file, re-importing, import into this other program, then go. Like, we just saved you a boatload of time, right?
Yeah.
Regardless if you're just like wanting to dump them all into one folder and then have them all appear on the timeline all as one.
And to be honest, I actually don't think it's, even with Stitch, I don't think it's that complex. It's actually very simple, because all you have to do is load in the same file at the same time. So I'm going to load in the same file at the same time, both in Stitch and in the main window.
The only piece that that we could see going forward with is, and I don't know if this is possible, I haven't spoken with Quincy about it, is that once this is all assembled, you've figured out what you want to cut, keep, categorize, because you're going through it, or you're just not using TimeBolt, right? Like, you just, after that's done, is the ability to then export one XML versus 15 or 20, like you're talking about, into Premiere. You're not dealing with 15 or 20 XML files in Premiere. You're dealing with one that was assembled in a linear fashion with TimeBolt, right? That's kind of where that would be the export feature that we would see.
Because if you think about it, XML files, you don't have to re-encode them. XML file is a non-destructible mode of transport. When you have the file in TimeBolt, if you export an XML, you're not re-rendering the file. TimeBolt just links to the original source in the XML file. Like, for example, if you had to go into CapCut, doesn't support XML. So if you have to take a clip from TimeBolt into CapCut, what you have to do is you have to render it out into clips. And then when you render something, it's re-encoding it. And then when you re-encode it, it loses some amount of quality. And then when you go to CapCut and do all your CapCut stuff and then render it out again, it again loses some amount of quality. But the whole reason Stitch even exists is that if you want to combine a lot of videos that you have time bolted and you don't want to keep re-encoding them because you want to combine them together, you can use Stitch. And I think that's like the best representation of why Stitch exists. Otherwise, you can just skip all of this, export an XML for your 20 files, take those XML files and put them in DaVinci Resolve, because that's very easy. Also, when you're editing, making jump cuts, I feel like when you are making a jump cut video, you're not making a movie, right? If you're making a movie, you can have maybe like 30, 40, 50 different clips, which you're going to join together in a big timeline. And at that point, you're not going to think about jump cuts, right? Because if you're making a movie like Dune, there are no jump cuts. It's just everything is hand cut. It has to be hand cut. And in that case, using TimeBolt itself doesn't make sense. Like, I would not recommend using TimeBolt to make a movie. The kind of video that is being made using TimeBolt inherently is like one big file, like OBS, an OBS recording. Like a lot of Twitch recordings, which have multiple audio tracks and are one long file, That's like the perfect video for TimeBolt. But then again, Stitch exists because we recognize that even that sort of a video needs a bumper. It needs teasers at the front.
Every video you watch today, okay, like there's except for like maybe the top YouTubers that aren't interviewing somebody that's doing like that's just talking about a specific subject. If there's a conversation, if you're looking at PPD podcasts, GoPro videos, garage sale people that wear the GoPros, like all these different channels today have the action stuck up front. You can see what's going to happen in the video, then some promo, and then the actual video. And what we did was we just made it super fast to do inside time.
You can put
You
it
can
out and
rearrange.
put it at the back.
Yeah,
see how-
and after that, you can show them in the timeline on TimeBolt, where you can remove the cut and export this one.
Yeah, that is something I'm going to work on. We haven't done previews yet. Where the cuts are created inside Stitch, that you can't see as of right now. But yeah, that will be coming in the future. I want to add like a preview section where you can see which cuts are made in Stitch, which are applied because of the JSON file.
So you're saying actually play the preview?
That will come. Yeah. So play preview will include the cuts. That's
what a preview. Let me ask you this: would a preview, if that was ever the case, would a preview include either what the speed up or speed down looks like? I know we can
look into that. I'm not sure. That could be something we can look into. I agree with that. The preview needs to be there.
You can preview all the clips in your timeline as one video, and you can remove the cuts. And after that,
so this is a video viewport. Whatever you're selected, and if you keep playing this, it will just play through the entire thing.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I see what you're saying. It's a good.
This is a video viewport. It's not just an image.
suggestion.
It's a video viewport. You can play this, by the way.
instead, at the moment, you have to enter this video, apply these cuts, and export this JSON file and apply in Stitch. It will be good if you can add these videos. For example, 1, 2, 3, rearrange this, and you can check your timeline in TimeBolt, where you can review all these clips, like one video, remove these cuts, export one XML file or JSON, and after that you go in your NOE and everything will be easier.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure yet, because I really want to see what people use this for, because if it's an NLE user, I wouldn't even recommend them use Stitch. Like, why would they use Stitch when they can just get an XML or JSON and just use the extension? I don't think they would even use it. That's my concern. There is that we'll build too many features into this product, and nobody would use it if it's an advanced user. So that's my concern from that point.
I think this will be useful because at the moment I have multiple footage where I can merge in one, and I have to open, for example, Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve, this footage to one video. After that, export this video in one file. After that, I have to open TimeBolt, enter this video, remove these cuts, export the JSON, open this video again in DaVinci Resolve, apply this JSON file via the extension, export this video, and this is a very long process.
One thing I would suggest is, are you not watching the videos before you render them? Like, are you just putting in TimeBolt and just trusting TimeBolt to give you the right cuts? Or are you like watching them once?
I'm watching the video, but before I start watching the video, for example, when I record my videos, I numerated every video. I can know what will be the next video.
No, I'm saying when you TimeBolt the video, when you have 5 videos, right? 5 separate videos. And are you putting the first video in TimeBolt, getting the cuts, and then watching those cuts in TimeBolt?
No, I first open DaVinci Resolve and merge this 5, 10.
You basically make all the cuts first, and then you watch them in DaVinci Resolve.
No, first combine all the videos in one file, and after that I enter this one big file in TimeBolt where I can remove this silence.
So you render one big video from a bunch of smaller videos in DaVinci Resolve, and then run that one big video in TimeBolt.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Then I think the XML thing would work. Then I think the feature Doug said, where instead of exporting a video from Stitch, you export an XML, which you can just plop into DaVinci Resolve. I think that would then work for you, because then the XML will contain all of the videos stringed together without having to re-render them.
And that would save you a couple hours.
The ideal workflow for you would be to basically take these videos, make the cuts in TimeBolt, put them all in Stitch, export the XML, because then that XML would contain all of your clips with the cuts and with the source on each of these cuts linked to your original files, and you won't have to re-render anything.
Can you give me some example?
I'll give an example. So this is my video, right? So let's say you have like 2 different videos. Let's say you have 2 videos at the moment. What you're saying right now is you're going to put them one by one in TimeBolt. Oh, sorry, you're going to concatenate them in that particular software and make one big video. But instead, what you would be doing if we add this new feature is that you would drop this into TimeBolt, right? And then you'll drop the same thing in Stitch. You'll get the JSON, apply the JSON. You'll take the second video, drop it in TimeBolt, drop it in Stitch, get the JSON, apply that JSON. And then instead of exporting a video, you will be exporting an XML file. That XML file, you can just put it into DaVinci Resolve. And then your entire
one project, right?
It took me literally 10 seconds to do this.
We do not have option here for XML.
We don't right now. That's what I'm saying. That will be a future.
We just
edition.
built this in a week.
I made this in a week, by the way.
Like, this is all brand new, dude. We'll work on the XML. Appreciate the questions. Very good questions.
Yeah,
Dan
but
has
that
his-
is interesting because
but Dan, I would like to get to Dan because he's had his hand up for a bit. Can you mind if we ask some questions?
Just a quick question, just so you understand my workflow. I record these videos for my training sessions. They're between 3 and 4 hours long. I drop the video into TimeBolt to get rid of. I don't watch it. I trust it. Turbo, take out the silence. Boom. Then it goes into Camtasia, and I apply my intro and outro. Freaking re-render it another time, and then upload the videos. Am I going to be able to use Stitch to just render the video and then drop in my intro, drop in my outro, and just be done with it?
Yeah, you don't have to render twice then, only once.
You don't have to render
That's
twice.
hours. I mean, that's
Hours.
I'm running. That's hours of time.
So
for me.
I'll show you exactly what you need to do, right? So what you would need to do in this case would be, I'm going to just make another copy of this. Is going to be your teaser or your front. This would be your back. This would be your middle. You would put your front, which is not an edited file. You don't have to edit this because it's already done. Like you have your bumper.
It's
right?
done. Yep.
Yeah. Then you have your middle, which you will put in TimeBolt. Middle goes in TimeBolt. You get the cuts and you export the JSON, right? And you put the middle in Stitch, apply that same JSON file, the middle file, and then you add your back. 3 clips, right? 1, 2, 3. The middle one has the JSON. You export this, but then again, you said you want to use turbo mode, right?
Yeah.
Click on this button. You say,
I just want to use the turbo mode for the inside the.
We don't have that right now.
Okay.
That's an interesting thing. But ideally, let's say we have that. Maybe we'll figure that out. We'll figure that part out.
Because
but then
that would save
saves
me hours. I mean, that's
yeah. So
I
then
mean,
you can just export the video. So once you do turbo, you can add your maybe 1.125, and then you can select what frame rate you want, what resolution you want, and then export.
Oh, well, hell, maybe I just change my intro and outro, slow them down one.
You can do that too.
And then I got to think outside the box. I'll just change the speed on those things.
Yeah.
And save me all that BS.
Possible. But yeah, that's all. You don't have to re-render your file again. Just like render it just once. Like, that's the perfect.
You may end up finding the process fast. You can like being able to pull out the excerpts and doing all those things. It doesn't matter if it's an intro or outro. You could have your highlight reel and then your intro and then your main footage. And then you might even go through and put chapter markers in the biggest places. Is this being uploaded to YouTube?
Well, I have a private unlisted channel for my client, and they go out there to YouTube and get it. On my workflow, you probably don't remember, but you gave me hell for using Camtasia, downloading when you had the feature built into it. I have an intro, I have an outro. I've been speeding up the video using TimeBolt, put it in Camtasia, put the intro and outro, re-render it, wait for that to happen, then upload it to YouTube, which takes 90 minutes. This is a time-consuming process.
Yeah, it supports everything. It supports it supports punch, it supports fast forward, it supports chapters. It's basically everything that the regular render in TimeBolt supports. This also does.
What I'm going to do, let's see if this works out in my use case. I'm going to slow down because I noted the rate. I use 1.13 as a nice number for the turbo. What I'll do is I'll reduce the time on my intro and outro so that when I speed it up to 1.3, it'll be that normal speed. But then it'll be slower. And then when I re-render it.
You can even do it with TimeBolt, by the way. I'm pretty sure you can do the same thing with TimeBolt.
Okay.
What you would need to do is I'm not sure. I'll have to test this. But let's say you have your video, right? What you need to do is go into turbo mode, and then you need to calculate it basically because it's slower, right? It's going to be 1 divided by the value you just said, 1.1. What was it? 1.13? 0.1. That comes out to about 0.884. You take this value and you drop it into the speed multiplier, and this should work.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like render.
That also, it will slow it down
so you can speed it up. Because does it have music involved with it or something?
No, it's a straight up. It's a recording. It's a lecture series that I do straight up. I just use TimeBolt to kill the dead time.
So this should probably work. You can just do the file in TimeBolt, just divide that value, put that value in speed multiplier, and then export the video.
I have another class tonight. I'm going to do that. I'm going to slow down the intro and outro.
Stitch hasn't been launched right now, by the way. It's not out yet.
Well, when it comes out, I'll try.
Do you want to?
I can send you a version if you want.
Let's just do that now.
Okay.
Let's just send.
Because my client, they said, how do you do that? How did you take the video and get rid of all that dead time and stuff like that? And then what I'm going to do early, I'm going to slow down my intro and outros. Then once the class, I'm going to drop them into Stitch, and then I'll put my video in there, and then we'll run it through Turbo, and I'll see what it looks like. It should sound the same. I think it's going to work.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
that workflow will work. Just understanding like what you can do inside with your footage when you're saving an extra hour and a half, right? You this might be the time where you're like, okay, it's really time for me to learn to press the keys USOB. Man, I'm gonna go for it today, because we hopefully it just becomes like something you like learn how to type an email or something kind of just synonymous as something. No one wants to learn new shit, right? But we're really working to build TimeBolt into the ultimate video communication device. Whether you're like it's a tool, like you can have you ever worked with our banger technology? Have you ever sent a banger? Do you know what that is? Please say yes, because it makes me look better in front of my partner.
Oh no! Oh yes, so you can create the shorts, the live shorts.
Well, the send a banger where you're able to capture yourself.
Yes,
and
yes, yes,
quickly...
yes. I just redeemed myself. Yes.
No, that's exactly.
Nice.
Thanks. I'm like typing them on the side. Remember the stuff you can send quick. But no, with sending a banger, being able to quickly send rapidly send video messaging. And right now, when you do that and you're capturing your video, what's nice is if you're putting it in Slack, if you need to put it in the body of an email, if any of those, it actually creates motion GIFs that it's not just a link, right? It's actually a link with you doing something and talking, and that's what really helps get the click. So you're able to send those out as well. So everything from rapid video messaging to we just built the world's fastest editor for live action footage, GoPro cam action footage, and then for super complex workflows like Mr. Mark, we've really got a universal Swiss Army knife of capability here.
And this is going to really change things up for me, I think, because as you can imagine, as I opened up earlier, Mark, I haven't upgraded my laptop. I got a 2019 i9 MacBook. It's loaded with everything. But it still takes a long time on a 3-hour video.
No, of course, if you're re-rendering 3 hours of video, that's insane. You should have told us that before.
It's a 3-hour video, but it's worth it to my client. This is an international consulting firm to have that video.
I think I also mentioned the DaVinci Resolve to you last time we talked, right? I
was using I didn't want to. I'm going low end here. I was trying to do things on a shoestring budget.
That's why we made Stitch. Yeah. And no, DaVinci Resolve is free. You can.
But that's not another software. I'm not interested in learning another. I can't use the USOB.
Yeah, no, that's why we.
Dude, no one has that. You don't have to. You just don't do away with all of it, because that's the thing. TimeBolt is the ultimate video companion app for work and YouTube. For work, we wanted to make it to where you don't have to use anything else. You don't need to use iMovie. You don't need to use DaVinci Resolve. This involves rapid video communications. You're not there to win some avatar award for design, right? It's about putting good information at the right sequence, at the right pace, that's categorized, that's searchable for business communications.
And here's the thing. Well, I don't want to get off. You have other clients. I don't know who else is on. I don't want to get off.
No, it's all right.
Consume all your time. I have a meeting in a little bit, and that meeting is with some of these. If I've mentioned these digital marketers, there's like a little powwow group we belong to, and they've been talking about making videos and getting them out and how to edit them. And I was just like, I'll talk about this today in our meeting at noon. But this is just crazy because they're really pressing people to do live videos or get videos out there quick. They always talk about how to speed it up and add your intro and outro. But if this works, man, this is a saving time. It's better than CapCut. You're talking about CapCut and stuff like that, but do this a little bit better, I would agree, because you can speed it up, punch in, punch out, and all that good stuff.
So all you would have to say, I'm sorry, just one thing. All you would have to tell them is that, look, there's 100 different options out there that you may be thinking about with AI. Mm-hmm. But as you go through and you try all these other ones, I want you to imagine being able to do everything that you want in less time than it took you to record it. As you're going through and you're thinking AI is going to do it all for you, and you find out it's generic, and you need to go back and fix words cut off, and you need to go, oh, wow, this text, you're going to read all these things, push 3 buttons, and it's all done for you. As all that is a massive disappointment, and it takes you more time, be thinking about, as you go over that threshold, you could have already been done with your project. That's kind of the TimeBolt guarantee. It's that you're able to get to a finished video, whether it's a fully cut, polished first cut timeline, faster than it took to record live, with all the bells and the punch values, the speed up. There's not any other software either that you're able to talk 12% faster.
Yeah, remember when I started coming to your original meetings, I was using Camtasia, putting everything in Camtasia, doing the edits in there, looking for the dead time, and I was just like, holy cow, forget it. I just started using your app, but then I went back to Camtasia to add in the intro and outro. Now this is going to save me a boatload of time.
With Stitch, okay, it is going to change how you edit. There's going to be different. We went through it all today. I would recommend taking a look at the recording. I'll get this thing put together and up on YouTube as fast as possible. But Stitch is going to change how you edit a lot of different types of videos. You're able to put your teasers, pull out your teasers, and stitch video or audio and images in any order into one video files. You're completely saving the time of rendering multiple files. You're doing it all inside TimeBolt. But thank you very much for joining us. If you've got some suggestions about how to do this, is how product gets built, please join us next week. We start live at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Love to have you. You're number one, right? Thank you very much, Mark, again for joining us. And that's it for TimeBolt Office.
Thank you, guys.
Mark. That's it for TimeBolt office hours on April 25th. Don't forget to hit the like, smash the subscription button, and of course, notification bell when we go live. And we're out of time. Thank you, gentlemen.
Bye, take care.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.